So you gotta learn how to just be comfortable with who you are. You gotta learn how to be comfortable with certain things about yourself that can't be changed, and things that you can change is your attitude. You can have a good attitude about things.
Yes.
Some kids think they can change their attitude by drugs, alcohol. Yeah, that'll change it, but not for the better.
Right.
Maybe momentarily, but it has consequences.
And it's always better to decide to change your attitude than for somebody else to tell you to change your attitude. Because when somebody else tells you to do it, then it just makes you mad. So
exactly, yes.
But I tell myself that a lot, especially in the mornings. Cindy, change your attitude.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. We don't wake up in a good mood all the time. Working with kids all these years, I realized that a long time ago. I realized two things. One is that I would never lose my temper with the kids I work with. Second was that I would always have a good attitude. And when I told somebody that I worked with, they go, "You're going to set yourself up for failure." And I said, "Not if I practice." And all these years that I've worked with kids, even in juvenile, I've not lost my temper. And I've had a good attitude because I remember and I practice. So how do I practice not getting angry, losing my temper? One is I start thinking, I'm not going to give you a feeling you don't deserve.
Right.
You don't deserve my anger. I'm not invested in you to the point where I'm going to lose my temper because of you. That I give that to people that are close to me.
Yes.
They're probably saying, please don't. But I don't use it in a hurtful way. I learned that my anger can hurt people. I learned that my anger can make people feel uncomfortable. So I'm very conscientious of my anger, and I'm not perfect. I've messed up a few times where I've had to apologize, and it's okay.
Well, I've known you 14 years, and I think that's true.
Yeah.
I've never seen you angry.
No. And, it's not that I don't get angry.
Not true for me.
But still, I don't want people to be afraid of my anger.
Yeah.
Or fear because I'm angry. Because there are people like that fear anger, fear sad, fear jealous, and your feelings are okay. You just have to know how to be comfortable with them.
Right.
Now, the other thing is, good attitude. So I had to learn how to have a good attitude. Not being raised in an environment with a good attitude. Cindy, in the hood, you have to have a bad attitude to be left alone.
Yes.
I got to look serious and angry so people won't take my money when I'm on the bus or going to, back in the day, and you talked about it on the podcast for spring break, quarters in your pocket to go to the video arcade. Yeah, you go back in the day and they'd be like, "Man, give me your money." You're like, all right. If I was chipper, I was going to be robbed or beat up. If I was angry, if I had that angry look, people left me alone. But I had to learn that I can't do that on the job. I had to learn to be balanced.
True.
So, kind of what we're talking about.
True.
So, tell us, how were you? How did you deal with those feelings and how did you fix yourself?
I think it's a lot of affirmation and positive talk, and realizing, when you're watching too much junk on TV, or you're listening to too much noise, or you're hanging around the wrong people who are talking noise, and just surrounding yourself with healthy and positive, the things that makes you better.
Right. Yeah. When did you notice that you had to change those things?
I don't know. I think for me it came with age. I was also reflecting, because I'm happily married. I've been with my husband, I think it's going to be, we've been married 23 years. We've been together.
Congratulations.
It's been, it'll be 23 this year, but we've been together 30.
Wow.
But I'll tell you that we used to have the stupidest, most immature fights and arguments, which is, I think, what most arguments are,
Yes.
It could be from anything from the toothpaste tube and just anything. It's
Yes.
They're inane and they're stupid conversations. And I thought, one day we both grew up.
Right.
And we learned how to talk to each other. Now we just give each other the silent treatment. It doesn't last.
And it's healthy, by the way, kids. Conflicted relationships is healthy as long as no one is using physical violence or emotional violence, meaning that emotionally attacking.
Yeah, you can't, go certain places. You don't cross certain lines, and you don't put the other person down.
Right.
And I think some of it was, we lived together first, and then when we got married, it was just like, what? Now we're a couple. Now we're supposed to act like a united team.
Right.
And a united team's not going to do well if it's, about competing with each other.
You said a key word, team. We have to work as a team. Even families, you have to work as a team. You have to remember that we live in a home, and the home has to be peaceful for all of us to be able to live in. So if you have one bathroom, we have to work together.
Yeah.
I remember having one bathroom, and you always want to be the first one in there.
How did we do that? I mean, I just don't.
Did you grow up with one bathroom?
We had one bathroom. Yeah. Well, we had 1.5. But, there was 5 of us in the home.
Right. Right.
And I never remember suffering. But if you told me today that there was only going to be one bathroom, I have a hard time. We have 2 refrigerators because we have the one in the house, and then we have the old fridge in the garage. And there's still never room. I mean, because my husband loves condiments, so half of our fridge is condiments.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Yeah, it's like, how did we make it with one refrigerator?
Right.
And then we had one that was a small one, and yet now 2 refrigerators and a freezer.
Yeah.
And I still don't have enough room.
And I need the freezer. I don't have that.
Those are the least. I mean, those are kind of worries that I'm like, but
are these really problems? Yes.
Yeah, but hey, compared to what I used to have. But yeah, I mean, you start thinking of these things. So, if you're living in a condition that you don't want to live in, you can change it, and changing it is changing your perspective. Okay, so let's say you share a room with 2 or 3 people. You don't have your own room. You can create your own space. Mm-hmm. Well, they don't respect my space. Then we need to work on boundaries and establishing those boundaries and learning those boundaries. Some of us have a hard time.
Well, sometimes you have to find that space, in your own mind, in your own head.
Right. Because
you really are in a small house with, a lot of people and a lot of noise.
Right, yes.
But change, it always starts within. Even if it's, thinking about what you want in the future. As soon as you start thinking about that, that's when you start dreaming, and that's an active process. And you start working towards that dream, and everything you do, you're like, am I working towards that goal, or is this working against that goal?
Right.
If I'm using drugs, is it helping me get to that goal, or is it not? And so that's what I did a long time ago. I just started dreaming about the things I wanted and what I wanted to do to get there.
Yes, very important. And we constantly bring it up. So if you're like, you guys talked about that last time, you keep talking about that. Yeah, because it's an important part of your growing up.
And that's what adults do. We just shove things down your throat. We say the same thing over and over because it's important.
You know what it's like? An imagination for grown-ups.
Yes.
It's like when you're playing and you're imagining that whatever toy you're playing is real. You're playing with that little car, and that little car becomes a real one, and in your mind you're like, man, I'm driving this little Hot Wheels, it's for real. and then you put your little eye in there and you're kind of like, I'm there.
Yeah.
So a lot of us, we lose that imagination, and then as adults we forget, or adolescents, you guys forget and your reality becomes it. You don't move forward.
Right. You lose the magic.
Yeah, and some adults get stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Some adults get stuck there. So tell me, Miss Cindy, what do you think of what some of the kids were talking about today?
Well, I was just recalling that somebody talked about insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
and that's huge. That's part of childhood. It's part of adolescence.
Right.
It's part of, your young 20s, even when you get older. I mean, you're always going to have some insecurities. And
Right.
insecurities, it's a broad range, broad spectrum of things that you might feel insecure
Yes.
about. And it's learning to embrace your differences and embrace your awkwardness. And because, like Leo said, you're you.
Right.
And you have to learn to live in your own skin. And the most attractive person in the world is the confident person.
Right.
And I promise y'all, it's not easy to be confident. You can't just make it happen. But that is the most attractive quality to another person. It's not the most, attractive person, physically attractive person in the room. It's the person with the confidence.
You can be an attractive person, but it stops there.
Yeah.
Oh, you got pretty eyes. Oh, you got pretty hair. Oh, you got... And then it stops there.
Pretty soon you become boring and invisible.
Yeah, they're like, oh, there's pretty eyes over there. Oh, there's pretty hair over there. And it stops right there. Some of you, may have grown up with a brother or sister or a relative, or I'm gonna say this.
Say it.
Growing up in my time and growing up in my neighborhood.
In the 1900s.
Yeah, 1908. Okay, so listen to the music. It's 1981. Summer of 1981. Something happened in my neighborhood. Hispanic kid moves in with green eyes and light skin. That wasn't funny, Cindy. I was like, That ruined everything for all of us. We tried hard to impress the girls, and showing little muscles, and playing football and trying to impress. And all it took was green eyes to come in. And green eyes, all the girls, oh my green eyes! Oh,
I love green eyes.
And they even went as far as saying, oh, pretty babies. I was like, hey, come on, he's young. Anyhow, so that kind of brought down the self-esteem, and then it's like, well, I can't change my eye color. Back then we couldn't, kids. So, you kind of internalize, well, my eyes are brown.
So everybody else's.
Yeah, I remember one girl telling me, your eyes are just brown. You're brown. You're full of doo-doo. And I was like, hey, leave me alone. And so I internalized it as, oh, I don't have green eyes, and my skin's not light, so no chance with the ladies.
See, you call that insecurity.
Right.
And if it had been a female telling that story, and then this girl came into the neighborhood, then it becomes not so much insecurity as jealousy, which jealousy is insecurity, but we would call it jealousy. Right.
Now, there's nothing wrong with jealousy, but I turned it into a toxic thing, because I turned it into...
Jealousy's toxic.
Well, no, it depends on how you process it. Wow. Yes, it depends on how you process. It's a normal feeling. It just becomes destructive when I internalized it as I should have been happy for him. Oh, look at old green eyes. Good for him. But at that age, I internalized it as, well, I don't have green eyes. Why
weren't
they
good
like
enough.
me? Yeah. And kids, what I'm trying to get at is it's normal. It's normal to have those feelings. It's normal to have those jealousies. And like I said, now, I should have been happy for that person, but I was immature emotionally, so I internalized it as, well, I don't have green eyes. Nobody likes me. And my self-esteem is low, so the girls are like, yeah. But now I realize, well, I don't have green eyes, and I